Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Creeps, Creatures, and Haunts.
Oh my.
In today's episode, we thought it would be fun to talk about, in our opinion, what are 10 of the most haunted places in Ohio.
Yeah.
The list we're going to be reading is kind of not in order, but there are going to be some places that are more, and again, our opinion, more potentially haunted than others.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the places on this list are places we've been. I think pretty much all of them we've been at some point.
At least one of us has been to.
At least one of us, yeah. There's a couple where
yeah.
I haven't been, but Kim has. Now, we would like to potentially do more in the future, but those ones would probably be ones we haven't been to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really want to ramble on anymore with the pre-stuff. I guess we'll just kind of start talking about our list here, and I'll let Kim kind of kick it off.
The first one we're going to start off with is The Ridges, which is in Athens, Ohio. This is a old insane asylum. It's right smack dab in the middle of Ohio University, which is right there. A big, huge campus. We actually did an episode of it. And supposedly the whole location is fairly haunted. There's quite a few different buildings. The most famous though is actually an art museum and some offices. It's the main building, and what it's most notoriously known for is there is a permanent stain on the floor.
Oh, yeah, that is this place
upstairs where a patient.
I'll try and insert a picture of this.
She got out of her room and she disappeared. They couldn't find her for quite a few days. Eventually they got to this building and they went to this room and they found her naked, curled in a fetal position on the floor. Her clothes were neatly folded in the corner and she was dead. And they got rid of the body and everything. They tried to clean up because, bodies kind of leave things when they die. They kind of secrete
some stuff.
Things.
Yeah.
Well, it left a stain on the cement, on the floor. They tried their best to get rid of it with everything they could think of. It just kept coming back, and it is it looks like a person in a fetal position stain. So she supposedly haunts the place. There's also numerous other inmates and patients that were there that have been seen roaming the halls. You hear disembodied voices, people walking through the cemetery, which isn't too far away from the Ridges main building. It's actually really creepy. If you watch the episode that we did go exploring there. That cemetery is...
Yeah.
It's something.
Yeah, it's real creepy, and it's not well kept.
Yeah, no.
And there's a part, because at first I thought it was just a little bit smaller, and again, it's in the video, but there's kind of a little bridge you go over that takes you to another section. It's kind of in the woods.
Yeah.
That's by this real gross swamp. Yeah, it was kind of something else, and it's all on this kind of steep hill, so it's kind of hard to walk around there a little bit. I do wish that we would have got to go inside the Ridges, the building.
Yeah.
Because there is an art museum.
Yeah, it was disappointing because we had literally gotten there and a few minutes after they had closed. They actually were open that day.
Well, I had looked it up and Google had said it wasn't open on, I think it was Sunday that we went, and it was open.
Yeah, so
that really sucked.
Someday we'll get back out there.
Yeah, moving on to number 9 here, we have one that I have not personally been to, but Kim has, and she's had an experience here that she has talked about before, but we will talk about that again, and that is Franklin Castle.
Yeah, so this place has a lot of different rumors circulating about who actually haunts this place. I have watched numerous shows. I have done numerous research on it, and there's so many different stories. You never really know which one is real. The latest show that I actually watched, if you're familiar with any of the ghost hunting shows, was actually a really good one. It was the Holzer Files. And Dave Schrader and his psychic medium, Cindy, and Shane, their tech guy, they actually uncovered the fact that a lot of the rumors and spirits that were said to haunt this place may have been made up in the 70s by the family that lived there, just to kind of monopolize, kind of make money kind of thing, because they would have tours and stuff like that, and they would be like, oh yeah, Mr. Tiedemann killed his daughter here and hung a servant here, and there's baby bones in the wall and all this other ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, I don't know much. I know this place is haunted, but since I've never been there.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
The only person that actually died in the actual Franklin Castle building, as it stands right now, was Hans Tiedemann's wife. She actually did pass away there. His daughter, who is also rumored to be haunting this place, she actually passed away in the building that used to be on the property.
Okay, well, I mean, a lot of people believe that the land itself can be
haunted.
So.
Well, okay, so this is weird. So the building that used to be on the property, the new house, like here's the new Franklin Castle, okay? The old property kind of overlaps it just like a little bit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like the old building, this is the new building. And so they think that that's why they kind of sometimes hear the daughter, is because she's kind of like overlapping into this building, but she's only in certain spots where the old building used to be.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it just was really, really an interesting episode. I highly recommend it. If you have Discovery Plus, you can go find it on there.
Fortunately, we don't have an episode for this place. It's kind of hard to actually get in there and investigate.
Yeah, unfortunately. The guy who owns it is trying to restore it and stuff like that. And he's making it into apartments and things like that. So,
but didn't you have something like happen to you while you were there? I don't want to linger on this one much longer, but...
Yes. I went there quite a few years ago. They used to have a... well, they still do, a haunted Cleveland bus tour, and one of the stops was Franklin Castle, and it was our, like, lunch break kind of thing, like, in the middle of the tour. While we were heading upstairs to go get our food, there was a stairwell, and next to the stairwell was some cookies and some other desserts. Well, I grabbed a cookie. Well, apparently, somebody didn't like the fact that I took a cookie before I was going to go eat dinner, and they threw a pitcher at me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The pitcher actually, quite literally, came off the wall. It didn't fall off of the nail and drop like that. It came off the wall and dropped face up at my feet and shattered. And I thought that was really
Yeah, it's definitely
freaky.
strange.
Yeah.
But I really hope that eventually they allow ghost hunting again or something, because I would love to get in the place I've never had the opportunity to. So number 8, this one I think we're going to cheat a little bit on. So we do have an episode on this. Number 8 is the infamous Helltown. So this is in Boston Township, and there's kind of a debate for everywhere that Helltown specifically is, but pretty much everyone agrees that the cemetery in Boston Township and the road that kind of dead ends, and now it dead ends a lot closer to than it used to. You used to be able to drive back there a lot more.
Yeah.
If you watch the video, you'll see quite a bit of different footage when we went there. We did not do a ghost hunt per se at Helltown. I am thinking about, and leave a comment if you're watching the video form, if you'd like to see this, of actually going to Helltown itself and doing an investigation. Yeah. We did do a small investigation at, what's it called, the cemetery?
Mater del Rosa.
Because there's a lot of people that consider that part of Helltown. It's not Boston Township. That one I don't think technically is. It's close to It's a Greater from the peninsula.
Yeah.
People say that that's not Helltown, but other people say that it is. And the church that's actually in Peninsula is part of the Helltown legend that has all these upside down crosses. They're not really upside down crosses, but it's part of the architecture. And that cemetery is actually that church's cemetery.
Yeah. The church is called Our Mother of Sorrows.
Yeah.
And the cemetery, Mater del Rosa, means Our Mother of Sorrows.
Mother of Sorrows. And so someone was like, oh, you're just clickbaiting with the title of this video, because we called it like the cemetery name than Helltown, Ohio. But there's so many places in the vicinity of Cuyahoga Falls. Now, Helltown, by the way, is basically the legend there is that Satanists, and what was the legend? Like that the whole town was which that part's true, but...
Yeah, the whole town was evacuated. Basically, the government wanted to build more national parks. They made everybody move out. They claimed eminent domain, made everybody move out. And then at the last minute, after they had gotten all these people out, they just kind of were like, forget it. We're not going to make a park. And left all these abandoned buildings everywhere. And people were like, what happened to all these people? All these houses are abandoned. What happened?
I don't even know where the abandoned houses are. I've never seen the abandoned houses, so I'm not even sure how much of that's true.
They're park houses now. Like, they tore down a lot of them. And now, like, all those yellow houses you see,
is that part
driving
of it?
through, those are the abandoned houses. Yeah, they just kind of remodeled them and they made them part of like the park's offices and stuff like that. But yeah, and then there's supposedly mutants.
Oh yeah, there's supposed to be mutants. There's a giant snake, which has a little bit of truth to the giant snake.
Yeah.
So we'll watch our Helltown video to find more about that out, because it's a whole long thing and I don't want to dwell on one category. But there's places like Everett Road Covered Bridge that are close to, that is in Cuyahoga Valley National Park, which of course is where Helltown is in Boston Township, because the national park is quite large. Yeah.
The next one is Moonville Tunnel. This is very close to Athens, Ohio as well.
Yep, this is the reason that we were in Athens, honestly. Yeah. It was a bucket list. It was a bucket list place of mine. Yeah. So we decided to go, because it's about 3 hours from where we live, close to, and I don't know, man, this place was eerie. It was definitely one of the most eerie experiences, and I think we got kind of lucky. I feel like it was a little bit dangerous what we did, so I don't know if I'd recommend people do it. Because we went there, we went there during the day, and the woods and the road to get there is super sketchy. You have to be super careful going there. But we do want to return, and I'll get to why in a minute, which kind of makes me sad. But, so we went there in the day. We did a little bit of filming there, went back to the hotel room and ate or whatever, and then we went back at night, and it was pouring down rain when we got there. And there was a bunch of other people there. I think there was actually someone like maybe trying to give a ghost tour. I'm not sure, because there was like a group, like a big group.
There was a large group, yeah.
And it was pouring down, and they all left, and we just kind of sat in the car for like, 10, 15 minutes. And the rain mostly stopped, so we're like, screw it. We drove all the way. We're doing this. We drove through the woods in the middle of the night in the rain, so we go to the place, and we have all of this on video, by the way, and the whole thing was just filled with fog all night.
It was so scary. Like, so at one point we couldn't see each other. Like I would be at one end of the tunnel,
be a couple feet away, and we couldn't see each other.
He would be just a couple feet away from me, and I couldn't see him.
If it wasn't for the flashlights,
so
yeah. It was insane. I would walk it by myself and just listen. And we didn't get much that night, like not really any EVPs, but we did have some stuff that sounded like footsteps, I think, and like some things being thrown at us. We got that, but just the vibe there was just super eerie. And we used the laser grid there, and we had a couple of different lights and fun things we were playing with. So if you're interested in that just for the vibe, I would watch the video for sure. Yeah. The thing we want to go back for is we tried, and we didn't film this, but we knew there was a cemetery close by. Yeah. And we vaguely found instructions online. So we found this pull off, which is what we thought was right, but it was so sketchy and the road got so bad that we ended up turning around, and then I did find out later, like, we were, like, not even a minute away from it.
We
were,
like,
away from it when we turned around. Yeah. I think that's something I would do in the day, and maybe we would park on the road or something, because it was kind of a sketchy drive there. So we plan on going back and actually going to the cemetery, so stay tuned for that as well.
All right, so the next place is Prospect Place. This is in Trinway, Ohio, and it actually was a stop on the Underground Railroad. So one of the major hauntings there is supposedly runaway slaves. And then because the person that used to own it, George Adams, the original owner, he was an abolitionist, and he would hide slaves down in his basement. Their big reported haunting is the bounty hunter that came looking for slaves, who the story is that he came knocking on the door, and he's like, I know you have slaves in this house. And George is like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, well, I'll be watching you. Well, apparently the people that worked for George Adams didn't like that very much. They hunted down the bounty hunter, who was actually hiding in their barn, which is weird. Like, why would you hide on the same property or whatever? They found him, dragged him to the barn rafters, and hung him. Basically just vigilante justice kind of thing. So he supposedly haunts the barn, and the slaves are in the basement, and then George Adams and his wife and I believe his daughter haunt like the house, the upstairs house. We went there quite a few years ago.
No video for this one. We have been there, but
yeah.
we do plan on because it's reopened now. And it's actually not too expensive. So, and it's not that far from us. So that's definitely on the list this year of things to get to. So keep an eye out for that. But many ghost shows have been there. So if you are interested and haven't heard of the place, you can definitely go check out. I know Ghost Hunters has been there for sure.
Yes.
I think Ghost Adventures. Because I believe in Ghost Adventures, I think it was Zach Sell. He hear like a demon in the barn or something like that.
Yeah, no, up in the attic.
Oh, yeah, the attic of that place was creepy.
There was supposed to be Satan worshippers up in the attic.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can't watch an episode of Ghost Adventures without a demon being mentioned. Or without someone getting possessed of some way. Silly show. But good for entertainment, I suppose. Hello, sorry to interrupt the video here for a minute, but just wanted to remind everyone that we do now have a merchandise store. We have things like stickers, bags, mugs, and of course t-shirts and hoodies. Has our Skull Bob logo on it. If you're familiar with our videos, it's what's always behind us. So please don't forget to check that out. We try and keep the prices as reasonable as we can. And also, of course, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure to like, subscribe, and maybe share it with a friend. Helps us out a lot. Thank you very much, and now back to the video. Moving on to number 5. This one I feel is very near and dear to my heart. Is Beaver Creek State Park. Of course, the most famous thing there would be Gretchen's Lock.
Yes.
We do have episodes on this. They were kind of segmented episodes, and I think we're definitely going to go back and kind of just focus on specific points instead of like doing multiple places in one episode. I think that would be better. But when I was younger, this was such a thing. I went to Gretchen's Lock in the area of Beaver Creek State Park so many times when I was a teenager. And I know Kim's been there a bit. She's always lived further away from there. I know you'd been there previous to us meeting. But so many creepy areas. Bowman Cemetery is one of the creepiest places I've ever been to.
It changes every single time you go there because people are just so disrespectful and just do awful things to this poor cemetery.
Yeah.
And it just, it's I feel bad for it, but it is very eerie there. Very, it's just weird because it's just smack dab in the middle of nowhere. Like, you take a regular road to a gravel road to like a dirt road to like no road, and then there's a cemetery there. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah, it's creepy. And then Gretchen's Lock too. That place is super creepy, and this is part of a trail that's there. And then there's Gaston's Mill.
Gaston's Mill.
There's that. There's
Esther Hale.
Esther Hale's another big one.
Which is one of those jilted bride stories.
Yeah. Which we're not sure if there's truth to or not.
Because there's so many different things saying about like how she was actually a Quaker preacher, or she was, it's just so many different stories. It's ridiculous
so much,
now.
Yeah.
There used to be a house that was in the middle of Beaver Creek State Park. They have like this village area.
I forgot about like the house that was.
And there used to be a house in the back that was known as Grandma's house. And this old lady that lived there was known as Grandma, and like everybody knew her, and she lived in the middle of this park and stuff like that. Well, she supposedly lived in this house. And when the house was still there after she passed away, she supposedly haunted this house as well. I actually had a really cool experience with that where this was back in the day of the flip phones, and when they just started taking pictures and stuff like that, somebody was taking pictures with their little flip phone and took a picture of their mom, and standing behind them in this picture was Grandma.
Yeah.
And it was really, really cool. I wish I could find that person that took that picture and see if they still have it, because it was a really cool picture. All right, so the next place, number 4, is Molly Stark.
Yes.
So this place is actually, it used to be an old tuberculosis hospital, and then it was an insane asylum and a treatment center. And now it's a park.
Yeah, now it's literally a park where you can have picnics. Now, originally when they first made it a park, the actual building was not fenced off at all.
Yeah.
You could walk right up. Now, you weren't allowed to go in, but you could walk right up and look in the windows, and like right up to the building. You could walk on like the stairs and stuff. Yeah. There is a giant fence, unfortunately, surrounding it now, and so many people did break into it. Like, we actually went there one time, and one of the doors, someone had just broke in, the doors is hanging wide open.
Yeah.
We ended up, I think we actually called the cops or the park rangers or whatever and let them know, be like, hey, this place is, because we didn't want somebody to come and think that we did it.
Yeah.
So we're like, hey, this is a thing that we just saw, so you might want to come and lock this place back up.
Right. Yeah, because, like, we actually saw, like, papers kind of, like, coming out of the door because whatever room they broke into was, like, almost like a file room and stuff. And, like, these were, like, patient papers and stuff. It was really creepy and really, like, scary, like, that these papers were just kind of left in this building.
Like everything, it seems.
Everything, yeah.
Because we may or may not have peeked inside for a minute. Now, we don't have any videos of actually being inside the place. I will say there are people who have, now it is illegal to do so, but there are videos you can find online. There's a plethora of them of people that have broke into the place and looked around. So if you're real curious, they're online, but we just don't do that kind of stuff. Because knowing our luck, we'd get caught, and I don't want to give, like, YouTube any reason to take the channel or anything like that away. So we don't do anything like that. But the place, we actually did a little ghost walk there.
Yeah, we actually had a couple experiences, if you remember about the cookie.
No, I don't.
Okay, so I'll tell the story. So there's different buildings that are there. There's the main building, which was like the main hospital, and then there's this little building, and the little building, there's a lot of speculation of what it used to be. Some say it was a children's hospital. Some say it was where the nurses lived. There's even rumors of there being tunnels that connected the two buildings. We don't know if it's all true or not. There's just a bunch of stuff written all over the place for it. And a lot of different people say different things. Anyway, so we went over to that little building, and one of the windows was open. So we were like, okay, well, let's just take a recorder and put it in the window and try to do an EVP session. So we were asking just your normal, typical, can you tell me your name, things like that. Well, one of the people that were with us made little cookies that were ghosts. And I asked, do you want a cookie? And when we listened back to the EVP, we actually got a response that says yes. So we came back after we had heard it, because we went back to the tables and we were like, oh, let's listen to this. And we listened to it, and sure enough, it said yes. And we're like, well, we got to go give them a cookie.
Yes,
it
I
was
think, wasn't it?
Clear, super clear. So we took a cookie and we put it on the windowsill.
So that moves us to number 3, which is also something that's very near to me and Kim, is the House of Wills. So this place, now they do still, I believe, do ghost hunts.
Yes.
I highly recommend if you get the chance, because this place is terrifying. Yeah. It is a giant funeral home.
Giant.
But the guy who owned it was also very exuberant and just kind of a party animal, but he also believed in good things like equal rights and stuff like that. So he had like a whole party room called Dreamworld, and the whole thought of this was that, all races and stuff like that could kind of mix together and come party, because back, when this place was in its heyday, when it was a funeral home and all of that, that wasn't something that was something that was frowned upon,
Because this was actually the first Black-owned funeral home that opened in Cleveland, Ohio. So it was a big deal. So that's why he kind of wanted to make it like a funeral home / community center kind of thing. Yeah. So that's why he built all these other rooms in there and stuff like that, and tried to get people together and stuff like that.
Now, we don't actually, unfortunately, have a ghost hunt of this place filmed. Now, we have ghost hunted there before.
Yes.
But we've also filmed a movie called Linger that is on the channel. Could have turned out better, but it's still a fun movie. If you like things that are ultra stylized with cool music, I would check it out. It was kind of our take on like a giallo type of film. Was kind of like what inspired the aesthetics of it.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of interested in that, you can go check that out. I would like to ghost hunt there, but there's just a lot of things. I don't want to get into it, but there's a lot of things that kind of happen. Not necessarily ghost things. We could talk about that, because some things did happen. At least you and like Tina claimed the person that was ghost. One of the people, they weren't ghost hunting, but one of the people that was helping with the film. But there's just some like other things that happened there that just were just like, it was mainly, a lot of it was our fault. We put way too much on ourselves for 2 nights, and the thought of that place, it's kind of like if you have something you eat and you get sick afterwards, thinking about eating that thing again, even though you know it wasn't its fault, just kind of makes you want to die. Same thing, going back to the House of Wills, I think would kind of like literally give me a little bit of PTSD, because like it was such a rough filming experience for a product that didn't turn out how I wanted it to, that I think being in there, and the guy who owns it, he is actually a pretty cool guy, but he is a Satanist. He does practice Satanism, and if you don't know what it is, know that they don't actually worship the devil. You can look up what actual Satanism is, but he does like to do art that can be very polarizing. Like, really grotesque,
Yeah.
like, mutilated religious art, which is as most as I really, because I don't really want to describe some of this stuff because I don't want to get demonetized, but it's intense, and sometimes that stuff is there while you're ghost hunting, and man, I'll tell you what, you turn around the corner and see some of this crazy stuff, and you're like, whoa, what's that? It definitely adds the aesthetic, but this place is ultra freaky, one of the scariest buildings I've ever been in, and I've been in it more than I probably ever should have been, yeah.
So that brings us to our number 2, which is Madison Seminary in Madison, Ohio. This place has been on all the shows.
Including us, because we have an episode on it.
Yay!
It's one of our first episodes of Haunted Adventures, actually.
Yes, actually. And we did catch some really cool stuff there, so check out the episode. This place it was a hospital. It was just a bunch of stuff.
There was a lot of things through the years. A lot of not pleasant things. Yeah. Which we do. There's like a whole tour. We actually filmed the tour guide. She's like, yeah, it's okay if you film us. She wasn't that happy about it, but she was like, I guess, yeah. But, so if you really are interested in a lot of the things that happened, that's also a lot in the video, but.
This place is really cool. Like, it's very, very active, very, like, the guy who owns it is like trying to restore it almost to like the way that it used to look like. And he's doing a really good job. He's actually gotten like furniture and decor and all this other stuff.
Something tells me though, there wasn't thousands of disgusting, creepy dolls.
Oh, yeah.
In the original building.
Yeah, he has a lot of these, like, dolls.
Many.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Some of them may or may not be haunted. Most
they
famous.
all look haunted.
Yeah, well, the most famous one is Maddie. She's one of those, like, my-size dolls where they're, like, this tall, you know? She supposedly is haunted. They have actually had her move into different rooms and stuff like that when they've propped her up in some place and come back and she's, you know, over in the next room over or something like that. I've actually never actually seen her move yet. Hopefully we'll get back there sometime and maybe see if she will.
Yeah, I would like to definitely go back. Also, because, like, this was one of those places where it's mainly now owned and operated to be a place for people to ghost hunt.
Yes.
So you basically can just go on their Facebook and message them there's like a calendar you can look at, and then you see a date that's open, and like they have their prices, and the prices are extremely reasonable because he also owns Fairfield County Infirmary, which we will actually be going to. So if you'll be watching this will be released on Friday the something. And the following Sunday is when we will be going there. So expect, and that'll be our first Haunted Adventures episode of 2022.
And that brings us to our number 1 on our list, which is Ohio State Reformatory.
Right. I feel like if you're familiar with haunted Ohio places, this is not surprising.
Yes.
This place, is extremely creepy. I mean, it's a giant castle-looking prison.
Yeah. I mean, it's just foreboding just walking, like just driving up the driveway, you're like, oh, I'm in a castle. Like, it's pretty freaky.
The first time you ever go there, like, just, driving up to it's just like it's so grand. It's such, it's...
I mean, that's the reason why they built it this way, because it was one of those ones...
intimidating, yeah.
Yeah, it was supposed to be intimidating to the prisoners, or the reform students, as they called them back then, that it was supposed to, like, you know, reform them into becoming good citizens and stuff. And, of course, it like kind of morphed into something different after that, because originally it was the Quakers and everybody had a single room and they weren't supposed to talk to each other and all this ridiculous stuff. But eventually, you know, things happen and overcrowding happens and, you know, it gets turned into like a regular old prison where there's like, you know, you have bunkmates and stuff like that, and riots and stabbings and whatnots.
Like people being put, like the way they have it, it's like this tiered system. So like they go up really high, and there's even, I know someone ended up getting pushed off one of them before they had everything like encaged, and basically they were able, there wasn't much left for him, so they were able to hose him into the drains. Yeah. People just being burnt. There's so much horrific stuff that happened in this place. Solitary confinement, walking through there is petrifying. And again, we do have a video of this. This was one of our haunted adventures, one of our more popular haunted adventure episodes. You can go watch, and I really liked that episode. I went back and because you know I don't rewatch the stuff we make, but I did go back and watch parts of it, and I'm like, oh, because we try and do that a little more vlog style as well. and we try and do it without all the drama. We just kind of be like, oh, hey, we caught this thing. This is what we think it might say. What do you think? You know, we're not really stating for sure things are things, and we're trying not to be crazy about it. It was a public hunt that we did, because private investigations are pretty pricey for this place.
Yeah.
But they do quite a few public investigations, so can you keep an eye out on their website in that, because you can do that for like $50 a person. I think it usually is around there.
Yeah, I think it's about that price. And like, you know, they say they take up to like 100 people for these public investigations, but like a lot of times not that many people show up.
And this building is huge.
And a lot of times these people end up leaving by like midnight.
So just like stay to whatever the time is that they allow you. And I mean, even if there's going to be noise pollution, stuff like that, just being in this building, just experiencing the ambiance of it, if you're into that kind of thing, it's something that is not matched by any other place that we've been to yet.
I mean, there's been numerous movies filmed here, music videos filmed here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is a creepy building. It's a great atmosphere.
It's really easy to get lost in.
Oh my gosh.
They also have a great haunted house. It's usually one of our number one. It's usually in the top 5 each year of haunted houses we go to. Because if you're new to the channel, if you found this video by like Googling, you know, haunted places in Ohio, we like to review Halloween time haunted houses. That's one of the more popular things we do. So make sure you check out those videos too if you're interested in like how the haunt is. They call it Blood Prison now. Make sure to watch those videos as well. But yeah, Ohio State Reformatory, probably definitely one of the most haunted buildings, one of my favorite places to go and to ghost hunt. And pretty much anytime I tell someone like kind of like this that I do, the podcast, and that we do paranormal stuff, usually one of their first questions is, have you been to Ohio State Reformatory? Or have you been to Mansfield? A lot of people just call it Mansfield. But Mansfield is the town that it is in. I call it Mansfield sometimes. And people know what you mean.
Yeah, people know what you mean.
Like when you can't mention the town of Mansfield without people just, like when I hear the word Mansfield, I think of Ohio State Reformatory.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you haven't been there, highly recommend checking that out. But that does it for our list, at least this time. Did you like this type of content? Would you like to see us talk about other states? We haven't been to too many places in other states, but a few, not enough to make a countdown of our own, but we could kind of compile information, do research, and kind of like put together lists for other states as well. So if you like these kind of countdowns, people tend to. I know I like countdowns. That's why we kind of did this. Let us know, because we're, again, trying to make content that more people would like to kind of reach out further. We didn't mention at the beginning of the video, but it helps us out a lot. We have a Patreon if you want to join that. There's multiple different tiers, and there's like different goodies and stuff you can get, but at the end of the day, it's really just there to help support us. You can also become a member of the YouTube channel. It's $4.99 a month, and you get like things like stickers and stuff like that, well, like virtual stickers and emotes, and that, again, is just to help support us, really, but just little perks here and there. But again, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and Kim's favorite thing, make sure you ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future upcoming content. And again, if you're just listening to the podcast, make sure that you subscribe on what your podcast listening platform of choice so you don't miss any episodes the same. Thank you very much for watching and or listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.